Hello, this is Susan Woods, your self-appointed Black Lives Matter fraud investigator. Thank you so much for your time. I am continuing the investigation of Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation and their former chapters and other subsidiaries. And I've been working on this since June of 2020. The title of this video is Black Lives Matter, the $10 million Family Feud. You may have heard or may have read about the $10 million family feud that's going on with the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation and the Black Lives Matter Grassroots organization. I mentioned it in a prior video, and I've been doing some homework on it, and I'm just going to share just a little bit about it in this video message. So, the family feud is between Melina Abdullah. This is Melina Abdullah, Dr. Melina Abdullah. She is the Black Lives Matter Grassroots Organization Executive Director. She is versus, this is Shalomyah Bowers. Shalomyah Bowers is the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation Board Secretary, and he was also brought on as a consultant by Patrice Coolers, who hired him as a consultant and paid him $2 million as a consultant. Now, the family feud is around Melina Abdullah accusing Shalomyah Bowers of siphoning $10 million from the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. She states that before Patrice Coolers resigned from the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, Patrice Coolers told Shalomyah Bowers to dissolve the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation and hand over all of the assets to the Black Lives Matter Grassroots organization led by Dr. Melina Abdullah. Shalomyah Bowers says that never happened. Patrice Coolers never told him to dissolve the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation and give all of the assets over to the Black Lives Matter Grassroots. So that's where the problem comes in. And again, Dr. Melina Abdullah is accusing Shalomyah Bowers of stealing $10 million on top of the $2 million that he was already paid by Patrice Coolers. Now, Patrice Coolers left the organization in May of 2021. Okay, she just said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And apparently she left things in shambles. But to me, since both of these individuals are supposed to be good friends of Patrice Coolers, why not just ask her to clear it up? To me, it seems like it'd be very simple for someone to say, for let's say Dr. Melina Abdullah to say, hey, Patrice, there's a misunderstanding here. You left me with the Black Lives Matter Grassroots. You put me in that role, even though I am also the executive director of the Black Lives Matter Los Angeles division. You still put me in this position because we're good friends. Now, Shalomyah is saying that he is not supposed to dissolve the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation and give all the assets over to me. And in the meantime, he's stolen $10 million. Can you please come? Can the three of us please sit down and meet so that we can get this resolved? I haven't read anywhere where either one of these individuals have gone back to Patrice and said, hey, we have a misunderstanding here. Now, my problem, Susan Woods' problem is, how can Patrice Coolers even give that direction anyway? How can she say, dissolve this organization and give all the assets to another organization without anybody else approving of that major move? How can she by herself make that decision. It's just, it blows my mind how much power this woman had. It's like she's sitting on some type of throne, just giving orders, and people are just following her like puppets. Now, these two people, individuals, are feuding over money that, guess what? The public gave to the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, thinking that they were helping the Black community. And this is what happens. I mean, they talk about $10 million like it's $10. $10 million, $2 million. I mean, it just blows my mind. So I'm just going to show you a little snippet. I'm going to close this out. I'm going to pause, and I'm going to show you a little snippet of this lawsuit. I downloaded it, and I just want you to see what this lawsuit looks like. I'm just going to share just a couple of pages of it. It's a 20-page lawsuit that was filed in the Superior Court of California. So I want you to just see just a couple, just a little bit, because I'm doing my analysis, and I want to be able to share, or we'll be able to share more with you. But just take a look at this first page. Now, this was electronically filed by the Superior Court of California, County of Los Angeles, on September the 1st, 2022. So on and so forth. Walter Mosley, Esquire, Mosley and Associates, blah, 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 is the attorney for the plaintiff. The plaintiff is the Black Lives Matter Grassroots. That is Dr. Melina Abdullah. She is the plaintiff. Okay? And Walter Mosley is her attorney. This is in the Superior Court of the State of California for the County of Los Angeles, Central District. Black Lives Matter Grassroots Incorporated is a California nonprofit organization, the plaintiff. Now, what they mean by that, the California nonprofit, that just merely means they are registered, the articles are registered in the state of California with the Secretary of State's office. The articles of incorporation are registered with the Secretary of State's office in California. They do not have a 501c3 designation. You can go to irs.gov and do the research yourself. Now, versus the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, Incorporated, a Delaware nonprofit organization. That's what they're suing. Now, a Delaware nonprofit organization, here they're saying that this organization has its articles of incorporation filed at the Secretary of State's office in Delaware. And we've already talked about why that's a red flag. But even so, or even though that's a red flag for being in Delaware, another red flag is the fact that it is not in good standing in Delaware. So if you go to the Delaware Secretary of State's office and just type in Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, you will see that it says this organization is not in good standing. So that means they have not filed their paperwork. They don't exist, okay, in Delaware, even though this court case states otherwise. Anyway, they're suing them. She's suing them. She's also suing the Bowers Consulting Firm, a California stock corporation. She's suing Shalomyah Bowers, an individual, and does 1 through 20 inclusive, up to 20 more defendants. So that's the situation. That's the versus. The Black Lives Matter Grassroots versus the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, the Bowers Consulting Firm, Shalomyah Bowers himself, and 12 other people. They demand over $25,000, and they also demand a jury trial, which is hilarious. So, like I said, I'm not going to go through everything, but I just want to let you get a peep at this this case. So, comes now plaintiff Black Lives Matter Grassroots Incorporated, and for causes of action against The defendants and each of them alleges as follows. And I'm just going to read the nature of this action. 1, this is the case of a rogue administrator, a middleman turned usurper who was hired to collect donations and account for expenditures of the Black Lives Movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, formerly operating as Black Lives Grassroots Incorporated, or BLM. These donations were given on the well-documented work of BLM and with the intent to further support the work of BLM. BLM organized the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation as a matter of convenience to collect donations and fulfill certain administrative duties for BLM. Did not know that. I thought it was the other way around. I thought Black Lives Matter, the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, added on the Black Lives Matter Grassroots. And they did. If you would have been reading their website the way that I have over the past 2 years, you can see very clearly that the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation brought in the Black Lives Matter Grassroots. But now they're trying to flip it around. However, after siphoning more than $10 million in fees from BLM donors, Mr. Bowers decided he could not let go of his personal piggy bank when more than 300 movement leaders, as well as BLM founders, insisted that he resign from the GNF. Can you say those things in a court document? Can you make those personal attacks? Instead, he continued to betray the public trust by self-dealing and breaching his fiduciary duties. His actions have led GNF, the Global Network Foundation, into multiple investigations by the Internal Revenue Service and various state attorney generals. This is the first I've heard about the IRS actually investigating, and this makes me feel so happy. I've been wondering where they've been because they're supposed to govern nonprofits. So this statement or this document says they've been investigated, multiple investigations by the Internal Revenue Service and various state attorney generals, which I've talked about in another video, the attorney general's piece, blazing a path of irreparable harm to BLM in less than 18 months because he was only hired 18 months ago. While BLM leaders and movement workers were on the street risking their lives, Mr. Bowers remained in his cushy offices, devising a scheme of fraud and misrepresentation to break the implied in fact contract between donors and BLM. Instead of using the donors for its intended purposes, which is what you all have changed the purposes for your own personal use, Mr. Bowers diverted these donations to his own coffers and intentionally took calculated steps to prevent those same resources from being used by BLM for on-the-ground movement work during the Buffalo Massacre. Remember the grocery store murders in Buffalo, New York? That's what they're talking about here. And the Jalen Walker protest in Akron, Ohio. Additionally, when BLM confronted this interloper, this insulting names, Mr. Bowers arrogantly changed the passwords of the shared social media accounts, email groups, website portals, and other organizing tools that BLM had built in its nearly 10 years of existence. He then hired expensive, high-powered lawyers and media consultants to bully and harass the organizers and founders of BLM. He harassed Patrice Concoolers? No, I don't think so. As of the date of this lawsuit, Mr. Bowers continues to fraudulently raise money from unsuspecting donors, passing himself off as the organization that is doing the work of BLM, padding his own pockets, and that, I guess that's supposed to be, and that of his associates, at the cost of BLM's reputation. Can you believe this? Can you believe this, Family Feud? This is crazy. This is crazy. This is shameful. This is embarrassing. This is embarrassing, shameful, and crazy. Have two people arguing about the money that thousands of people gave to the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, thinking they were benefiting the Black community. And I haven't seen any indication of that yet. It's sad. But again, I just want to give you a little snippet. Of course, I'm going to go through the entire 20 pages of the, what do you call this? Indictment, lawsuit, whatever, document. I'm going to go through the whole document and talk about each piece of it. But I just want to let you see what was going on right away and who the players are in this big mess. I am embarrassed. I am ashamed of these people. Again, this is Susan Woods, a 7-point Black Lives Matter investigator. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.